how did you manage that particular part to build a company for robotics? What really company expects from us? So
there is room for design also. It's not just software. Robotics is not just software.
yeah.
So for a student, I think they should definitely write some code by hand.
Hello everyone, we have Gaurav Gupta sir with us, who is co-founder at Black Coffee Robotics. Hello sir, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Hey Aryan, good to see you. I mean, it's been great being in touch with you, and I'm happy we could do it at last.
Yeah, that's right. So sir, can you please introduce yourself? Like, what are you currently doing?
Right. So yeah, as Aryan introduced, I'm Gaurav. I'm the co-founder of Black Coffee Robotics. So as a company, we build software for robots. So I'll talk about it more, I'm sure, over the coming minutes. But in
Yeah.
general, we make machines more intelligent. So if you are new to robotics, you could think around. I mean, people have different conceptions of robots are, right? So it could
Mm-hmm.
be, I mean, people who are not aware would probably think of a humanoid, but there's so
Right.
much more to robots. Right? There are mobile robots running warehouses.
Mm,
There are robotic arms which have been around for so many years. So
right.
basically, we make those robots more intelligent. So how could they use a camera to make intelligent
Mm-hmm.
actions to do something better? So that's the short version of what we do. And
Okay.
yeah, personally, I do a whole bunch of stuff in all of this. I do some engineering, just software development for robotics. I work with my team, so I recruit people for our team, and I also speak to a lot of customers. So yeah, pretty much everything.
Right, got it. So basically, the people who are new into robotics, they are not aware of the robotics companies much. Like they feel that, as we discussed as well, like humanoid robot is a kind of robot which is actually used in the industries, and other robots like mobile robots, those are wheeled robots. They feel that those are kind of remote control cars that we were playing as a kid in the school days as well. So that what people think sometimes. But what Black Coffee Robotics do actually, like for the software solutions, or else you build products as well?
Right. See, most of our work involves developing software solutions for our robotics partners. Right.
Okay.
So a lot of times these companies are. I could give you a couple of examples on like who we work with and what are those people doing. Right. So a lot of the times we work with very early startups. So if you are a robotics founder, right, with a great idea and a use case, but you don't know where to begin, you are
Mm,
like, yeah, you need to get something really quick and really well. So that's where we come in. We help these teams, or like in some cases, individuals or a couple of individual co-founders build their core stack right from
okay.
scratch.
Mm,
Right? So we have done that for several applications. We have done that for warehouse robotics. We have helped teams build hundreds of robots that could navigate together. So
okay.
if you've seen any Amazon warehouse work, right? So there are
Mm-hmm.
multiple robots doing picking and
Okay.
placing tasks.
Right.
So we've had that. We have worked with lawn mowers. These are so not so much in India for specifically for lawn mowers. North America, for example, there's a lot of open field, right? So there's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of lawn grass to take care of. So
Right.
this is a huge sector industry. So we've worked in that domain. For Indian companies, we have worked with floor cleaning, so commercial floor cleaners,
Okay.
and yeah, many more things. Things around robotic arm. We've done house construction, lab-based testing. We've also worked with boats. So we've worked
Mm-hmm.
with a Europe-based partner to make ferries autonomous to move in Amsterdam. So there's a lot of canals,
Right.
and so it's sort of like a bus on water, pretty much.
Yeah. So
Uh,
this is all more to the software providing, right? You told about robotic arm, fleet management, or else
yeah.
swarm robotics kind of thing.
So Swarm Robots is like one specific example within the warehouse that I was giving. Rest everything else has been like one robot operating on its own. There could
Mm-hmm.
be multiple such deployments, but all independent of each other. And our work is to basically connect. So basically everything between a camera and the motors is where we live.
Okay. Basically vision and
So
then the controlling part of the robot. That's
yes,
what.
I mean, yeah, that's just an example. We also work with
Okay.
lidars, but pretty
Mm-hmm.
much at the brain of the robot. Now, this could be
Mm.
like the neurons here or the driver level. So we work from anything from deep learning models to driver development, motion planning, specific state machines, web GUI integration for robotics. So yeah, any software that's going to run on the robot is within our scope of work.
Okay, got it.
And yeah, and we work with these our partners whom we are working for. We work with them for hardware integration and deployment. So it's not like you could just do a job in simulation, right? And say my code works now, take it or leave whatever. It has to work on the robot.
Yeah, real hardware part is really important.
Yeah.
And that's where most of the people are not able to do the job, because a simulated environment is a controlled environment where we can test the robots and test the algorithms as well. But when it comes to hardware, the things are very different. Like we have to deal with the electronics part, and all the connections are also really important. If anything goes wrong, then the robot is not going to move. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And one more thing was regarding you started Black Coffee Robotics in India. So, like, what was your view on that? Like, you wanted to build a product-based company, because in India, the we will come to the part as that part as well. But robotics infra is getting good, and I will not say it's not there. It's getting good, but at the same time, when you started, you might have felt some consequences, less resources as well. So how did you manage that part? Because all the things were not open till now, like it's the AI revolution is going on. But at that time, it might be less, the resources might be less and all those things. But how did you manage that particular part to build a company for robotics?
Right. I could, if you have time for it, I could like just take it back a few years and just talk to you about how we got to the stage of starting Black Coffee Robotics, right? So I was as a student interested. So I studied mechanical engineering, right?
Yeah.
So that was my core subject, and sometime into it, I didn't think it was a thing for me, right? Just I mean, yeah, I wasn't like at the time too interested in fluid dynamics, right, or thermodynamics, or even specific manufacturing courses. So I was looking for, okay, what am I interested in? Like everyone asked them that question, right, in college. So after some trials and errors, I figured out robotics is where I would love to work in, just because couple of things. One, I like bio-inspired systems. So like everyone else, my first thought was also legged robots when I thought of
Okay.
robots.
Right.
Uh, because yeah, it's just easier to simpler to think about, and also it integrates biology with technology, right? So because they're inspired, so that's what got me into it. Plus, it's interdisciplinary. You could work with many different things at once. So if you like wearing many hats, it's a good thing. And I was personally more research inclined, right? So I
Okay.
wanted to do a PhD. So I went outside for a year. I was in Germany at the University of Heidelberg for a year. As a research assistant, just because before you commit to a PhD, you kind of want to be sure, okay, this is the thing you are going to commit 5, 6, or whatever
Right.
you used to. Yeah. So I did like the work. I wanted to gain an experience. Okay, how is it in India versus outside? What's the culture? So that was good. But a couple of things came to mind. One, I wanted to work in more industry, like here and now things, rather than forecast or okay, maybe this if I solve a certain algorithm better, I could give 0.1% gain or 1% improvement, or I could get a paper published. I sort of wasn't too aligned with that. So that's where my shift towards India came, right? And as you rightly said, there were not a lot of companies at the time. Currently, if you search for it, I don't know, there are like 50, 100, there's like an N number of companies at different scales.
Yeah.
At the time, I could only think of like 4 or 5. So that's
That's a huge difference actually from then and now.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the main point was to learn and get hands-on with something, because if you're just studying it, I mean, you can't connect like those equations to the real. So I started working in Gurgaon. I was working on AMRs, autonomous mobile robots, right? And forklifts, right? So I was working on software systems to make these machines autonomous. So I got introduced into engineering, did the whole end-to-end thing. Yeah, writing these drivers, tuning PID gains for the motors, doing basic automatic checks, to building applications that could be deployed remotely fully. And yeah, after a while, I realized, okay, we could do more with the knowledge we have. So me and my co-founder Zubin, right? So we had that discussion. Okay, could we do something else? So we had some ideas, but we thought we will just take that jump. We'll start something. didn't have all the planning forecasts. I mean, didn't really have any idea about business or starting a company for that matter. So say we took that jump. We are a services based company, right? Most of our work is custom software services for robotics, right? So we started off with some product ideas as well. So we were working on some things around the education space because you tend to work in things that you're familiar with.
Right.
So because studied pretty recently, so we're like, okay. And one issue we faced at the time was there's really no great learning resource because the academic curriculum at most places it lags behind the present world by a decade or more, right?
Yes.
So we were thinking, okay, what's a great thing that we wish we had, right, when we were studying? So that would make us more ready for the real world.
Yeah, applying the things practically, or else what will make the learning more
Yeah.
simple to the students, likewise.
Yeah. So we are trying out some platform around that. So somewhere where you could like write code on the browser. This is what, but just to give you a sense of time, right? This was 2019, right? So 6 years ago.
Okay.
So if you could write some code, you could see the robot arm in your browser move. And browser, because of course it's easier setup. So that didn't quite hit the spot we were hoping to. So it wasn't particularly well received. I mean, maybe whatever the reasons were, right? So we were also working on building a robot hardware. So you could think of something like the turtle bot. So at the time, because there was just a turtle bot, so we thought, okay, could we build a smaller version of robot? Because this was again in more educational space. People get their hands on a really affordable robot to do things with it. So we didn't find a lot of breakthrough there. But then what we realized is, we basically started getting some interest from people. Okay, hey, we need this problem solved. Can you do this? So these are like companies, right? Businesses who are in need of software, which is something we were good at, right? So we started from there. We did something around warehousing, like I mentioned earlier. Then we did something in floor cleaning, and very soon we realized, you know what? Why don't we just work on this space, right? Because we have a good knowledge of this interest. So that's where we started building.
Okay, like deploying the softwares for the customers who want the software ready for their products.
Correct. So building and deploying and support like both.
Wow,
so
that is actually good.
So that's
So, but actually, I'm getting curious to ask some questions. Like, at that time you started, did you get some funding as well, or else you started from the bootstrap model, like getting funding on your own, or else you raised some fund to build your company?
Yeah. No, we didn't raise any funds. I mean, we basically started with zero income, like whatever little savings we had after 1 year or so. I mean, I did some math at the time. Okay, this will take me for 6 months, and that's all I have. Okay. So the idea was to, we didn't start from any funding. It was just to start solving things, bring the revenue, and then maybe build.
Wow, that is good actually, because currently the students who are into college, they also want to do their startup. So they think about funding, who will give us funding and all those things. So this model might help them to start their initial days as well.
I mean, it depends, right? It's not like we were opposed to funding. It's just that we didn't find the right fit where we could see a full business plan through and then ask for money, right? Or raise funds or like debt or whatever the instrument be. So, and it also felt more comfortable taking ownership, like full ownership of what we're doing, just so that we could like control how fast we're doing, what direction we're moving in. So, I mean, different depending on what you do, one or the other could be a better option.
Yeah, right. Got it. And for the on-site working, did you focus more on the remote part or else the on-site part? Because you need one office space to have one team which is coming offline for the work, or else you focused on the online side only? Because currently online is manageable, but on-site is good. Like it gives you a chance of interaction and all those things. So what did you prefer, or else how did you make this particular thing available for on-site as well?
Yeah. So when we started, we were very much on site. So the site was just an apartment, right? So we had me and Zubin were flatmates, and like the hall was the office, right? So we would clean everything up, set everything ready by 11 in the morning. So our earlier team members, they used to like come there, and we had like a huge table, and we would like just work on a round table, right? So we did that, and so everything, right? Not just hardware, like just for development, R&D, discussion, anything we're doing, It was very regular work from office type thing. And then we, for the initial hardware integration or our initial deployments, we visited customer site. So we were based out of Pune at this point.
Okay.
So originally we started off in Hyderabad, right? And our first couple of clients were based out of Pune.
Oh.
Okay. So we did that commute a few times, like going from Hyderabad to Pune, but then we just moved the base to Pune because it also has an automotive base. Like Pune has infrastructure. So we thought, okay, it makes sense. There are a lot of companies there, so we might as well just go there. Right? And so that was happening. I mean, we had started thinking of, okay, how would we scale in terms of space? Because we were thinking, okay, we probably need an office now. Also had this mind, okay, do we need an office? Just these question marks, right? Because for others, it was office, we were still working from home.
Exactly.
Right? Just stepping.
Yeah. And also it comes with a lot of investment as well to take our own space and working on that. And light bills, all those things might come if there is the rented apartment or it's a rented space, then that might be the issue as well. Yes.
Right. So we were grappling through these ideas, but in a way, what made the choice simpler was the COVID wave, right? So right around 2020, we had, I think you would remember, it might have been in college at the time, right?
Yeah, I just started my bachelor's at that time.
But there was full lockdown, right? Like, panic buttons, no one is stepping out, a lot of uncertainty. Even our projects were like in that uncertain state because like, the robots have to be deployed. So things were pretty much at a pause. But yeah, we had things actively that we were working on, projects that we were completing, and we just started doing that, right? So, and we just realized, okay, it doesn't actually affect anything, but it just makes it better in some ways because there was more flexibility, right? So unfortunately, I'm a late starter to my day, right? So I work late into the night, but then I start my day late. And then with the office, so if I'm asking someone to move to Pune, right, or setting up an office, I also have to think about, okay, where in Pune, right? How will they have to sort of start a new life here. So that wherever we live, there has to be good places nearby for our team to stay at, right? And like you said, it's also of added financial responsibility, the office space, and also for your team. Because if you are asking them to move to a new place and basically get out of their existing home, they'll be paying rent, they'll be commuting. Yeah, there's the financial cost to it. There's the flexibility cost somewhat, right? Yeah. And there's also a time cost because it takes a lot of time. Depending on where you are, it could take a couple of hours, like for a day. Yeah, to reach that location. I think that, yeah, and that's a lot of time which could just be spent on maybe working or like take care of yourself. Right? Go to the gym, eat better, have time to take a that makes sense actually. So yeah, and then after COVID, we realized, okay, we don't think we need to work constantly together. What we did do after that was, so whenever there was a more workload, then we had team members like sort of coming in, and because again it was still just the two of us. So then we would like set aside a room, make it's like an Airbnb space, right? So we are all just living together and working for these patches. Wow. Yeah. So, and as a team, we do try to meet. Okay. So you work hybrid in the hybrid mode whenever it is required to be on site, then only you work on the on site projects. Else all the things are managed remotely. I think it's remote only, right? Because hybrid, as I understand it, is like once a week office kind of thing. Right. So it's not that, it's far more scarce, like in-person appearances or deployments. We meet 3-4 months basis. And even if there's nothing to do, we try to do an offsite. So we go to different places and just stay together, rent a huge place, stay together as a team and work out of them. To see the faces, right? Yeah, that is good because there should be a meetup for the team as well. Yeah. Wow, that's actually pretty interesting model to implement if someone is trying for the online and remote part. If they are stuck there, then they can take a look for this particular thing as well. Yeah. I think at one point it was just getting comfortable with the model because a lot of times you want an office because it's nice, like we have an office, right? But yeah, I think whatever makes sense is probably the mantra. Yeah. And of course, it takes effort because you have to have team members who are aligned on that culture, right? So your team has to be more self-driven because I mean, I don't, for example, check up every hour, okay, who's doing what, because we've
Yes.
spent enough time and gained that trust, and that happens
Yeah.
to a review process as well. I trust them to do the right thing.
Right.
They do great. So
That makes sense. So actually, we were talking about the team part. So taking this point further, how do you hire people? As you said, you see someone who is self-motivated or else who is kind of self-disciplined and manage their own work as it is remote. So they should do the task by the given time. That is very, very important in order to complete the
yeah.
project. So how do you hire? Like, what are the, let's say, 3 to 5 important points that you see for the employee or else interns as well. We will first of all talk with for the employee part and then the interns part as well. But how do
Right.
you make it? Any special things for them?
See, one thing that is true for our current team, all the full-time members we have, is they all got in as interns.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
So we found it a good way to start with an internship period and then take it to a full-time offer after spending working together for some time.
Okay.
It's just a lot of it was driven out of efficiency, right? Because we are like self-funded, basically we are like revenue funded, right? So we unless we have like solid projections for something, it's tricky for us to hire someone full time and then see if they fit into the system, right? Or spend six
Right.
months to find out if things are working or not working. So what has worked really well for us is hiring fresh graduates or final year students, right? And work with them, say 4 months, 6 months, and then
Mhm.
yeah, if we are both happy, then we move to a full time or right from there.
Okay. Right. So
Yeah.
there is no specific criteria. So they should have certain skill base, like let's say any programming languages, or else worked on any previous robotics project, or else any framework. Like, is there any kind of a skill needed?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. There is a criteria.
Okay.
So I could answer it. So there's like a technical front, which is maybe more specific to the domain we
Right.
are talking
Right.
about. And then
Right.
there are like some general things we look for in any candidate we review, right? So see, generally, it's important. Communication is a really strong part of working together, and especially working remotely,
Mm.
right? So I've had instances very less so. They're less frequent now, but earlier, I mean, sometimes you're speaking to someone, and so maybe if you ask about a project, people could start talking about, okay, I implemented, I do LQR controllers certain, right? So which is just to give you an example. So I think setting context in conversations is important. So, okay, so what is the project about? Right? Maybe because
Mm.
I'm not aware of everything you're doing. So you have to
Okay.
transfer that information
Right.
in a way which is fast and also complete. Right?
Yeah.
And because then it reflects in how you're debugging things, right? So for example, if things are not working, you want to report the right information so that others can help you fix it. Right. So if you see an error, right? If you're running a code and you get an error, and if I ask you what's happening, you say I'm getting an error. That's not good enough, right? You have to tell
Mm.
specifically what is happening.
Right. What is happening?
So communication is one important part. Just the ability to communicate ideas technically and non technically. Another important thing we look for is a long-term fit, right?
Mm.
Because like I said, we primarily go for internship converted to full-time roles. It's not to say we don't look for full-time directly, but it's just intern to full-time is work better for
Mm.
us. Right?
Right.
So yeah, we look for that long-term fit. Right? We try to evaluate for that as best as we can. Because see, from a small team's point of view, what happens is we do invest a lot of time in people that we get on board, and it takes many months just to be able to contribute, right?
Okay.
Because initial couple of months you are just getting in, like getting to the pace of things or the specific tools, technologies. For example, just what counts as complete, right? So, for example, for the same problem, two people could have different definition of completion. So if
Mm.
you write a code that runs maybe 1 out of 10 times, right, or 2 out of 10 times, you could say, okay, it's complete because it sort of works, right?
Right.
But maybe the expectation is for it to work 10 out of 10 times, right, or 99 out of
Mm.
100 times. So
Yeah.
just getting to base with these things, just the expectations, plus the tools and technologies, because robotics does bring in different things together.
Yeah.
It
There
takes a
are multiple things.
yeah. So that's just on the non-technical side of things, right? On the robotic specific side, I think So we have a programming round as well. So we sort of take home assignment which students can complete. And there, what we look for has changed from the years gone by, right? Because with AI assisted programming, we have changed our problem statements somewhat.
Okay.
So, I mean, yeah, mainly we look for, okay, can you write code and can you program your ideas to a working system, right? All robotic is not specific data structure test as such, right? So that's one. Two, how familiar are you with concepts, right? Maybe not all of them, so you don't need to be an expert in Slam or know how Postgraph Slam works or XYZ works. But we prefer if you have worked on something for more often than not, you should know how things are working, right? That's something. Plus, we look for ability to build things. Okay. So if it's on your portfolio, so what past work have you done, right? And how well can you present it? What's your contribution? How well can you talk about it, right? So we look for a demonstration of work. So for example, do you have a repository on GitHub, right? Which you created, well documented. What did you do there? Right. So that's pretty much it. And we do work with ROS a lot. Might have been on your to bring it up, but yeah. So in terms of tools and technologies, C++, ROS with simulations, and how we go about checking that is how well can you build things using these tools.
Got it. Yeah. So actually, there are a lot more things up for the interview round, or else your selection criteria specifically for the internship, and then you convert that particular intern to the employee part. But I know this process somewhat because in my bachelor's I tried to apply for BCR, Black Coffee Robotics, but I got rejected at that particular time. Yeah, because I was not having. Yeah, that's not an issue because I know I was not having those skills. Even though I'm not sure now as like even I will be able to like crack any round or not in your company, but still at that particular time I got rejected. But for the people who want to join your company as an intern and then be the full-time employee at your company, then actually that's a good opportunity because I feel like applying for the company is itself a good thing because it gives you better exposure and we work on the assignments and that gives idea about how to work on the things for submission and also what really company expects from us. So that is actually good. Like simply emailing the things is also important because many students, it's actually very like not good to say, but they don't know how to email properly. So that is also one skill students are not having, but they should do that particular thing like emailing the uh, like founders or else also for the applying for the internship is also a good thing. I applied for around 100 internships, but I didn't crack any internship. I don't know why, but I was not able to get any of them. But I was getting at the fourth year, but at that particular time, like the time was over. I was just graduating, so I just skipped the internship part. But yeah, that's really good, like you said about the things you go with the technical, non-technical rounds. But one more question was regarding you mentioned about you frame the questions according to the AI thing which is currently going on. So, like, what do you feel like AI with the advent of AI, I will say, is programming still relevant to program by yourself, or else it's good to just go with the AI tool and then make it more optimal for the robotics thing? Like, what do you feel?
Yeah, I think it depends really. So if you are a student and you have time, I think you should definitely write some version of code, say even if it's just the first version of code by yourself. Just because if you are at too high level in abstraction, so I mean there are obviously practical limitations currently with AI, so you can't expect it to work one shot for robotics. Like some things it would work. For example, if you ask it to write a publishing script or something, or parse AML and do some basic operation, it will work. But as soon as things get slightly nuanced, you can't one shot it. Okay? So then you would have to look at the code, the documentation, or something to patch it up. And if you don't have that fundamental understanding of what something is, like what functions you're calling, what library you're using. What does this mean, right? Then you can't.
Right.
So, for example, if you're a technical supervisor, right, but you don't know anything about the technology, you can't supervise the team well enough, right? Because you also have to understand, okay, what's not working, so you can provide your. So you need that level of understanding. And so yeah, I think, but at the same time, where I'll tell you like where we use it and where it's been helpful and not, and then I can try to link it to how a student at a project. So what it is doing, AI basically vibe coding, right, or AI assisted programming, it's just speeding things up. So you should be able to build things faster. Okay, and that's the expectation from everyone. So that's the expectation from us. That's our expectation from our team, and like so on and so forth, everywhere across the domain. Yeah, we use it as much as we can, but then when it doesn't work, you have to get in the trenches and do it yourself. And as we work on multiple projects, the speed is important to us. It's important to everyone, but especially because when we are working with clients, everyone wants things yesterday. So they might not be available next week, but everyone wants things real fast. So pace of development is really important. And I think AI gives you that opportunity to speed things up to an extent.
Yeah.
So for a student, I think they should definitely write some code by hand. But once they're comfortable with broad concepts, I mean, they should know how to program it, then yeah, use AI for supercharging it, or just use AI entirely but assist it very well.
Yeah, got it. So we should have a fundamental thing where we can work around the things to for the at least for the tweaking of the things as well. Because unless and until we
Yeah,
don't know how to build the code, how we are going to understand how to like the code which is any AI tool providing to us, is it correct or wrong? So at least to understand
yeah,
that as well, we should be able to understand the fundamental side, all the things, yeah, how programming works,
yeah.
networking.
And it works better if you the finer your instructions are, the better it works.
Yeah.
So yeah, it helps there also. But currently, I think we are not. It's not so good that you just prompt it and then it does everything. So because we have had instructions all through history, from assembly language to say writing C. So that's compiling into like the compiler does the transfer to the assembly language, right? And then Python is another level of abstractions. You don't have to allocate memory. You don't have to like, create arrays, pointers on this. Like that language does the abstraction. So why coding or AI coding in some ways is another level of abstraction. So you don't have to write syntactical code. You just talk to it, but you still need that logical sense to understand. And still it's progressing, so it's not as stable as, for example, Python is. So
Got it. Yeah, we will move to the next question, but before that, I wanted to ask you one thing. Can I call you Gaurav Bhai instead of Gaurav sir? Because
yeah. So call me Gaurav. You just call me Gaurav. Like yeah.
okay, okay, fine. I think Bhai is good.
Not a problem. So I mean, we do call each other by name within the team also.
So moving forward with the next part of the discussion with Gaurav Bhai. Actually, I wanted to ask you one thing regarding your college days as well. As a robotics engineer, or else if you want to start with the robotics things, we have to deal with multiple things at a time, focusing on the software side or else hardware integration with the software as well, and at the same time scaling up. So it might become complex or else hard to manage. And also at the same time, we want our own time where we can do certain things, and that might be our hobby as well at the same time. But how did you manage that part? If you can just let us know about it, because students feel stuck with that particular part, what to do, what is relevant for the industry, and when it comes for the college part, because now there are specialized courses, robotics and automation, AI and robotics, might be mechatronics and robotics, any specialization for robotics. The main important part is everyone wants a job, or else at least 70% of the students are interested to the job part. So in order to get those skills, how to manage that part, and also what might be those skills according to you?
Right. So it's a two-part question for me. So my journey to robotics was a bit different from what a lot of other students do, which might be more applicable to the listeners here, right? So personally entered more from the academic side, right? I was not involved in the robotics club during my college at all.
Mm-hmm.
And that also took a learning curve for me later on. So it would have been nice if I was involved, but it's okay. Because a lot of times students think they don't have time, but we all have a lot of time.
Exactly.
So there's never a need to press the panic button.
Right. Right.
So for me, I started more from, and some of these will apply to everyone, right? So I'll give you a couple of specific examples. So I was figuring out, right, and I found, okay, robotics. I started taking up some courses. We had electives. IT Kanpur, we had a lot of electives, and so I was originally a 4-year BTech mechanical engineering.
Right.
And by the end of my 3rd year, I sort of realized this is the field I want to explore. I'm interested in. So let's just see if this is the thing, right? Because I've not really quite found that thing. Because in college, you cruise through a couple of years. But thankfully, in my case, I had an opportunity to convert my program to a 5-year dual degree. Okay. So that gave me just 1 more year of trying things and figuring it out.
Right.
Okay. What I did in my 4th year was took a lot of courses around robotics. So in college, we had a course on introduction to robotics, which is just robotic arms, transformations, DH parameters, just Jacobian, basic things, right? Around but fundamental and essential things.
Right.
And what I also liked about that course was there was some assignment side to it, which is non-paper, right? So we had, so the university used MATLAB a lot, right? So that's where so I was initially most comfortable with MATLAB and Python because it's pretty simple to write, right? So I did that course. So okay, I liked what I studied because I was also studying theory of machines and dynamics from my mechanical engineering courses, right? And they were very mathematical equations. So all your equations, you do things one by one. But this uses matrices, right? So it was pretty nice to see, okay, you can just one-shot things and then a nice matrix comes out and that answers all the questions. Which also made me appreciate linear algebra more from the 1st year, because a lot of times people study MTH, we had MTH 101, but linear algebra courses, and you fully appreciate what it's doing.
Right.
So that's also a quick pointer to anyone who's interested to your linear algebra really well. Okay. So I did that, and then I did like a lot of other courses. So at the time, Coursera was big, so I started like machine learning course on Coursera by N2NG, right? So it's the most famous course.
Right, it's really famous and it's free as well. Like if we apply for the financial, I don't know like if it works now or not, but if we apply for the financial aid, then
it's free. I mean, so the good thing in this time, it was too even like when I was studying, there is so much information and knowledge out there available for free. So there is really no limitation on how much you can learn. Right. So I spent a lot of times just doing all these courses, right? Because I was just interested in programming, mathematics, just seeing it work. Machine learning was new to me, so I thought, okay, let's see what are so linear regression, logistic regression, neural networks. So I really like neural networks. So they didn't blown up big time then. So this is 2015, right? So 10 years ago. So I did those courses, like a course on neural network, advanced robotics. So anything to robots that I could find, I just started taking up one of these. AI for robotics, which is best special from Udacity. I did that. And so yeah, that was great for me. And then so that helped in like the research side when I was working there. But when I joined my first job, right? So that's where I got hands-on with ROS and just the physical integration. So because I had all this theory, I could see how it should work, but you don't fully appreciate. Like it took me a while to appreciate localization. Like why is it a big deal? I mean, theoretically it should just work. Like why do you need all this? Because but realize why it doesn't. Why do you need a closed loop control? Because if you're asking the motor to do this velocity, why isn't it just doing that? So to actually just see these things in action was great. I think what's great is if you and I see this in a lot of applications also. Okay, first thing, I think they should definitely do a hardware project because most universities have a robotics club. If they don't, you could just start one.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you are like tight on finances, they maybe don't purchase super expensive hardware, just do something very basic. I think with under 10,000, I'm sure you can get a working mobile robotic base.
Yeah, that's really affordable. Yeah, you can make it.
And maybe under 5,000 if you drop the LiDAR. I don't know, like, so you can already start. Plus, you can start with simulations if you don't have that access also. right? So yeah, the hardware side does give you a sense of what your software is going to work on. And it also helps you appreciate the complexity. That's why it's not software work only, right? It does work on a hardware.
Right.
And if you have a bigger club, sure, like get your hands in all the different fields, right? So mechanical designing, maybe that's your thing. You really like that because there is room for design. Also, it's not just software. Robotics is not just software.
Yeah.
You need
We can
people
work on
with good
design.
understanding design, you understand manufacturing processes, right? Because it's pretty important at scale to design parts. Lead times are quite low, so identifying the right vendor, all the tolerances, what material works where. So there's a lot of science that goes behind this thing. So there are
Right.
you take up a branch of your suiting.
Got it. So like,
And
sorry to interrupt you, but as you said, there are spaces for designing. At the same time, most of the companies are looking for robotic software engineers. So at the same pace, our companies are also looking for, let's say, design engineers or else simulation engineers as well, especially for this robotic space.
no, I think there is my assessment is just less space for hardware currently. So it's essential, but it's not at the same scale. The reason is it's very commoditized. So there are big players out there who can, so you don't want to invest too much on the hardware. So
Right.
you get it at good rate from vendors, right? So there's still
Right.
scope. There will always be scope, but that's when there's like more hiring of on software side compared to hardware side. It's just more
Got
mature.
it.
And yeah, but one thing I do see among students is almost every time I speak with someone, a student looking to build a career here, the story is they always had a project that was running by their seniors, right? But they sort of abandoned it at some stage. And
Okay.
then this new fresh batch of students got it working to somewhat of an old state with a slight improvement in 1 year or 2 years after, right? So it's just a lot of rework, doing the same things over and over again.
Right.
So,
Repeating
so that's
those
why I
things.
think, yeah. So there is value to building things from scratch because you do want to get a sense of it, but
Exactly.
maybe beyond a point, right? So maybe okay, if you want to build something from scratch, and if there are 10 components, build two of them from scratch, but then use something that is out there or improve on what's out there. So that allows you to also learn new things, right? Because you're not redoing the same stuff over and over again.
Right.
So you could learn, say, writing a new plugin, right? If you're using a navigation stack or robotic arm. So you could learn writing a new plugin, if you want to train a new RL policy, right? Or a new sensor
Right.
fusion method. So that's the learning part. And yeah, it's true. In life, I think you do have to take out the time for self-learning on your own, right? Because it's both ways, right? So anything is if it's a college project, right? You do want to be ready for the competition. You want your robot to be working there.
Exactly.
There's not that much room to do things. If you're working a job or a business, right? You have to deliver the project or weekly or daily, whatever your timeline is. So you just have to find space for learning. It's great if they're aligned, but sometimes they might.
Right.
So
S-
yeah, so yeah, it's basically to get
Right.
some of your hands dirty, but try to use a stack that already exists and see if there's a missing feature that you can add.
Got it. Yeah. I think that this advice will be very important for students because you are able to relate these things for the students' perspective as well. And at the same time, you are co-founder at a company, so you are not just telling these things, but you actually mean it. So that is also highly important. So you have experience and you are telling the things accordingly. So you are able to relate to the students and actually you are the co-founder. So you know the things what is really happening in the robotics in terms of the job market and also how students can learn the practical side of it. But also getting to the ROS side now, I have some questions about robot operating system as well because it is gaining popularity and at the same time we should understand like is it really good to spend time on ROS or else there are some other frameworks as well. But I am getting some other questions as well if you are comfortable to answer them, of course. Because in the college life, we like do the technical, non-technical things as well. And some students are asking me like whether we should get into relationships or not. So, would you like to spare some time on this particular part, like relationships during college?
It's a very personal take. I don't claim expertise on this, right?
Mm, right.
So But I mean, if I just look back, right, just my time or like people or friends around me, just if I go back in 15 years ago, right, what should be done? Uh, and it depends. I think if you find someone whom you think you, because a lot of time at younger age, people sort of go with whatever they get. Right?
Right.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
great. There's also like a peer pressure. Okay, like if you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, it's somehow good for you, right? And maybe it is. So yeah, if it's good for you. But I would probably not be too stressed out around that time. It's also a time to focus on yourself,
Exactly.
because what happens is if you are involved with, I mean, I say the wrong person because this is all in hindsight, right? You don't know it's the wrong person at the time. But I think in general, if you are unhappy and if you are spending too much of your time stressing about a minor or a major issue, or what's going to happen, how will it happen 5 years, and if you're stressed,
Right.
it's probably not worth it. There's like so much experience in life, and again, it can work both ways, right? So it also gives you more time for yourself, right? So it gives you, because a lot of times it's not applicable always, but a lot of times couple are sort of, they mingle with each other a lot, but is maybe a bit isolation from everyone else, right? So you can't always develop that relationship with friends or peer group, all of that. But I've also seen people in even relationship but still doing really well. So again, some, but yeah, if it's stressing you too much,
Right.
not worth it.
Means it might work or may not work. Depends on the person, like
Yeah, you
what they
never know.
choose.
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
Right.
stay happy, but don't be stressed. That's really
Right.
it. So
Exactly.
yeah.
We have both the sides. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so leaving that topic aside, it's not technical, but still, yeah, getting back to the technical side or else the robotic side of it. Uh, Talking about robot operating system, like it's ROS2 now known as popularly. Students are learning about ROS2 as if they are going to get the jobs by learning ROS2 framework, and also it's good. We get to work on the simulation side and deploy on the hardware. We are able to do the navigation part as well. That's fine, but what is your take on this? Like your company uses ROS completely, or else you do some kind of other stacks as well, like using other frameworks, or else only relying on the hard coding side as well. What do you work
Yeah.
on, and also what is really used in the industry?
Right. I think some understanding of ROS would be great for everyone. Like people who are looking to use it are not aware of it or have just heard about it,
Right.
because it's not a binary whether you use ROS or you do your custom thing. So what is it? So it's not an exact parallel. But it's more like, think of it as an Android for robots.
Okay.
So like you have Android apps, you can have ROS apps. It's not an operating system, so it's not technically true,
Yeah.
but in a lot of ways that is true. So Android gives you a base to, people are more familiar because everyone uses a phone, so they do understand Android, right? So when you go on a Play Store and download an app, it's running on that Android platform, right? And what that is doing is that is exposing all the phone functionality like camera, keypad, voice to your application, right? So it gives you that standard interface on top of which you can build your application.
Right.
Right now, you could say, why should I use Android? I'll write my own phone. There are many people working on it, and there were like multiple frameworks. There was something called BADA. There were like 2, 3 other competing operating systems for phone, yeah, earlier, and they sort of died out. So currently, I have Android, and so similarly, ROS we do use pretty extensively. Well over 95% of our work uses that, right? But it's pretty much the glue that ties your system. Right? So, for example, if you have a camera and you want to get data and do some detection with it, right, or do mapping with it, or a depth analysis if it's a depth camera or if it's an IR camera, you want, and there are robotics, what happens, there are multiple processes running simultaneously and talking to each other. So your camera feed will be used by someone else, which will do something, and in the end, if it's a robot, it will move a motor. So it allows you to glue these systems really well. So there are like underlying communication protocols that they are written, they are standard message definitions. So you can just read that packet, do your thing, and write your logic, and then send it. So if someone is starting with a robotics project, it's a line follower, you don't need it, right? But if you are doing any sort of autonomy, lidar, camera based motion planning, then like the pros far outweigh the cons. Now, if you are scaling to say a million units, which students are not, but let's say if you are Tesla, right? You have plans for you're building your own hardware, your layer, your software, then you might be particular about optimizing for your platform because you have a million units, so you don't need something general. Right? ROS in a lot of ways allows you to do a lot of general stuff, but there is naturally some load that comes with it. So maybe it could be more lean, but if you are not at that scale of tens of thousands of millions, you don't have to. There are enough problems for you to work with rather than optimizing beyond those.
Yes.
So I think anyone interested in robotics in college should definitely be working with it.
Right. It's really important when it comes for the complex architecture of robotics. If we just simplify it in this way, then ROS is really important to let's say build an AMR or its robotic arm as well. At the same time, if we want to build other systems on it, let's say deploy some AI algorithms, so we don't have to waste time on just making the basics of the robot strong by just hard coding it. We can just deploy the ROS architecture on the robot.
Therefore, there are frameworks now as the ecosystem is grown so much, right? And it's a well-supported project. There are also specific, for example, Move2 is used for motion learning robotic. Nav2 is what a lot of people use for navigation for
right.
Right? And many more that I mean, yeah, like too many to name. So at that point, if you take it for okay, is this, for example, is using Nav2 here and over here? Right? Maybe that's a valid question, but that builds on top of ROS2. So it's not like if you sign up for ROS2, you sign up for everything inside, everything that is in ROS2. Custom plan, right, or a custom mapping module. It's difficult, it could be. Almost certainly a good place to start.
Actually, that is good. We are able to do the editing part as well. If we want to build our own wrappers as well, we are able to make it, and it's really flexible then. And also we get community support at the same time. Community is working on it consistently. We don't have to waste time to just maintain that particular packages. We can just adapt to those things and deploy in our robots. And also, is a robot operating system only for prototyping, or else it is good for product development as well? If we want to sell products in the market to the end consumer, then is it fine to use ROS, or it's not good for the product?
No, it's definitely fine. There are, I don't have the numbers, but there are tons of companies using ROS to productize deployed robots, right? So it's definitely, my sense would be it's the single biggest software framework running on deployed robots out there. Like I said, unless you know a lot better, and if you have deployed, say, 50 robots or 100 robots with ROS2, then maybe you're in some position, right, to understand, okay, this is what's not working, and this is what I need, and maybe that's why it's not the right fit for me. Right. Then you can start shedding away from like building your own thing or using something else. Right. But if you don't have that insight, then yeah, there's no reason.
Got it. And one more thing was regarding the Indian market for robotics, because robotics in other countries is good because they have less population, and also manufacturing is done in those countries. I will not name the countries. We can take examples as well. That's not an issue. But at the same time, in India, robotics is going on the education level. The specialization courses in bachelor's have started. And one important point is regarding it's good going India as well, because in bachelor's, if I compare with other countries, I will not name it again. We have specialized courses, but all the countries are not having the bachelor specialized courses for robotics. It may not be good, but it depends on the individual's interest at the same time. But comparing the market, or is the company's part of robotics, is India going at that particular level in robotics infrastructure, or else we will remain on the service providing part only, or else any other opinion that you have?
Right. See, market is like without a doubt growing, right? It's would name the country. I mean, we know US, China, right? They have a lot of naturally for a higher cost of labor, so it is a more tempting alternative to okay, what if we could like just have a robot do it? But robots are not just a replacement for cheap labor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of it. So, for example, if you're cutting grass, right, on a lawn, then it's just a replacement for a lot of work. Maybe the robot can do it. It's not a very skilled thing, but it also gives you things which humans just cannot.
Right.
So, for example, if you are building a car and they're moving these heavy crates around or trucks around or painting the car, current way of life just cannot happen with humans.
Right.
Okay. There are applications which are hazardous, right? So, for example, battery packaging, dismantling. Part of it is to do with labor cost, but a part of it is also to do with making things happen that just aren't possible with human effort. So this could be moving heavy parts, heavy machinery around. It could be hyper precise operations where you can't lose some millimeter. And with regards to manufacturing, the Indian market is growing, and there's, I think, going to be. It's pretty encouraging to see us coming across a lot of companies starting manufacturing in India, and I think as a global trend, manufacturing is sort of becoming cool again because like all the news cycle of the last 15 years was around software, right, apps, SaaS. But with geopolitics, right, and also everybody knew it. And China is also a good example of how you can uplift your country economically.
Yeah.
So I think my sense is India would see a revival in this. Obviously, unfortunately, things move slow in the country.
Right.
But I am quite optimistic at this point regarding industrialization and manufacturing. So I think robots will have a role. They are already there, but they'll have even more of a role to play.
Exactly.
Where it might be tricky in the near term is just trying to replace labor with robots. So, for example, maybe a cooking robot. Not too sure about that use case.
Right.
Or so, by the way, home cleaning robots are getting pretty common in India as well. Sure, you would know of someone who has some sort of
vacuum cleaner robot, which is very famous. Right.
So there is definitely adoption. So yeah, I think industrial spaces are growing. They will continue to grow because there's so much to do. We have a lot of setup of that. So yeah, I do expect Indian manufacturing to be gone.
Summing up the things about the Indian market, what I feel is if manufacturing increases, as you said, industrialization will definitely happen. So when manufacturing increases, the companies will increase and ultimately new jobs will be created. If we want to just make it simple, then that might happen because currently the companies might be less, so jobs are less. So of course, if more companies, then more jobs. Because without a company, there is no job.
And I think it's probably not right to compare number of robotics jobs to number of software jobs. I think software jobs will always be more in number just because everyone has a phone, laptop, right? So you won't have the penetration of robots at that scale.
Exactly.
And even if there is a robot, you need the rest of software side, you need data machine, building an app that an operator can control. Yeah, it's not. It's a specialized field, but it will grow.
Definitely. So we are actually going towards the end of the podcast. But one last question was regarding if you can answer it. But that was regarding someone asked me like if I am not from an engineering background, let's say I'm doing BSc in physics or BSc in any technical field. So whether he or she might be able to do robotics engineering by himself or herself. By just going through the skills part, applying on the projects, learning new skills which are relevant for the robotics market. So is it possible?
Yeah, why not? I think the good thing with digitalization and I was saying earlier, there is knowledge out there for everyone, right? And it doesn't ask for your degree, right? Or your PhD. So yeah, if you can understand mathematics, if you can write programs, if you can understand physical systems, why not?
Right.
And but if you're, for example, studying art, then I don't know why you switch over to this. But if you want, you could stay to it. Like there's really limit. If you understand all those things, you could be studying or not even studying. Right? So my co-founder is from engineering physics background. Right? So he does in his coursework he was studying physics a lot.
Right.
He was reading the robotics stuff at IIT Guwahati, and then of course.
Right, definitely. So you are an IITian, right? Wow, that is good. Then we have a lot more things to talk. But currently, for this episode, I think it is done from my side, like for the number of questions and all the things that we discussed out. It was really great, and I think the students who will watch this particular podcast, they are going to get a lot of things to learn. It got a bit lengthy if we compare to the audience. average view duration side of it. But if anyone watches the complete episode, then they don't need to spend much more time for searching out other things, because they are getting all the things which are essential for robotics learning, and also to getting awareness about robotics. This might help a lot for the students and all the robotics enthusiasts as well, those who are looking for any kind of resource or anything which might help them into the robotic side. So thanks a lot, Gaurav bhai, for taking your valuable time for this podcast episode. So is there anything to add on from your side?
No, thanks for having me. Nice interacting with you. I hope listeners find value in it. Check out our website, Black Coffee Robotics, and we also write a lot of blogs. So we have written a couple of things around students and like how they could get into the robotics career. So that's like a more structured version of what I was talking about. But yeah, and, thanks for having me on.
Definitely. I will also add the Black Coffee Robotics website link and GitHub repo if possible, like any links that I wanted to add.
Yeah,
Gaurav
please.
Bhai's LinkedIn link is also in the description, so you guys can just visit the website. You might reach out Gaurav Bhai as well. By the way, the GitHub repo from BCR Black Coffee Robotics is really good. I also had that particular GitHub repo where you can just test the project in the simulated environment, and you will get a lot of things to learn.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for mentioning that. We do like, yeah, we try to do open source as much as we can. We have
Right,
some platforms to help people get started.
right. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.